Hi everybody, my name's Kent Parmington. I'm a senior manager at ComScore. So ComScore is one of the leaders in measuring the digital world. So we help answer questions about where people are going online, what they're doing, who those people are, and really try to provide a holistic view of the digital landscape. So today I'm going to be taking you through some of the trends that we're seeing in our data and helping to link together the changes in the digital landscape to how that impacts, the value of Newfronts and media buying and planning moving forward in the digital world. So let's start off first with considering how the digital landscape used to look like. So previously, it was pretty straightforward. You had one consumer who interacted with their Mac and their PC. ComScore started about 16 years ago, and we launched one meter operating on one operating system, and we captured about 100% of the activity coming across the landscape. Now, as you all know today, things have changed pretty dramatically. There's a huge resurgence and uptick in new platforms, so devices like tablet, mobile, PC, as well as is a big adoption of internet-connected TVs, internet-connected gaming consoles. So it's clear that the digital landscape has really become much more fragmented. So whereas it used to just be one person interacting with their single platform, the PC, now they're interacting with their PC, their mobile, their tablet, their connected gaming consoles, and their connected TVs. So really this has led to somewhat of a fragmented landscape where the same consumer is now interacting with media on many different platforms, sometimes concurrently, sometimes in place of other platforms. So it really depends on the medium and the platform we're discussing. But what's become clear is very much the landscape of digital media consumption has changed dramatically in the last couple of years. So, how do you go about understanding what these changes are, what's driving these changes, and really what's going on in this new digital landscape? So, ComScore takes a multi-sourced approach to understanding consumer behavior across digital platforms. So we have a panelists, we have about 2 million panelists, and they help us answer the who's doing this behavior, what are their digital behaviors online, and then we combine this asset of 2 million panelists that allow us to watch all of their digital behavior, and we combine that with what we call our census network. So it's really important to understand what a census network is. ComScore has deployed ComScore tags across a variety of mediums. So we're on about 90-some% of the top 100 US media properties online. We've got pretty extensive coverage across mobile applications and tablets as well. So really, across about a month time frame, we're collecting 1.5 trillion digital calls. And we take this information and we sync it up with what we know to be as our known universe is these ComScore panelists, and we're able to drive an understanding of how digital consumption of media is changing from person to person and from platform to platform. Understand? So, what do we see when we look into our census network? Well, what we see is a huge adoption of non-computer platforms. So here in November, you can see that non-computer platforms accounted for about 7% of all the traffic that we saw on our census network. But here, if you look at November 2012, about a year later, you can see that that's almost doubled to about 13%. So here you can see clearly a huge trend in not only adoption of mobile, but an even greater adoption of tablets and other connected devices such as gaming consoles and connected TVs. So, when we look further into our census network, we can analyze what a typical day of a consumer, a digital consumer, looks like. And here you can see smartphones. Best to think of them as consumers snacking with their smartphone throughout the day. You can see the uptick as people start to wake up, and you can see just pretty steady consumption across until people go to bed towards the end of the day. Smartphones generally being used throughout the day. Now, when you take a look at PCs, you see that really PCs rule our day. So they really spike kind of right around the middle of the day when people are at work and they're doing most of their leisure browsing and consuming a lot of the consumption in the middle of the day. But when you really look at tablets, you can see that tablets rule our evening. So there's a huge spike here right around the time where most people would be consuming primetime television. So what does this tell us? This tells us that consumers are using their tablets potentially concurrently or in lieu of other platforms, but it's really become an integral part of their leisure activity. So after work, when they're sitting at home on their couch, they're using their tablets, be it while they're watching TV or in lieu of TV. So what does this really mean when you put it all together? Well, it shows you here that content is consumed on a daily basis across multiple devices by the same person. So digital consumption is turning more into a connected environment than simply really focusing on one specific platform or one medium. This is obviously going to have a huge impact in how brands reach their desired target audience and really communicate the message that they're trying to convey to their consumers. So I wanted to briefly take you through a quick case study that we conducted at ComScore and show you really how this impacts a brand's ability to reach their target audience. So here you can see the growth of Facebook.com across PC devices. If you look at February 2012 all the way to February 2013, you would assume that Facebook's traffic is decreasing. Now, we all know this not to be the case. So when you layer in mobile consumption, you see here in January 2013 to February alone, a huge spike, right? So this really goes to show you that if you were to take a look at Facebook's traffic and really just look at the PC consumption, you would see a slight decline. But when you layer in the impacts and the consumption across multiple platforms, you see that actually not to be the case, that there's a significant resurgence and increase in Facebook traffic. So, when you delve deeper into that and you look at how people are really consuming content, you can see that there's a pretty significant audience of people that are consuming content really only on their mobile devices. So for Google, which reaches about 217 million people in the US, that number is about 15%. So 15% of Google's total traffic is coming exclusively from mobile platforms. When you look at Yahoo, who reaches about 206 million, you see that about 10% of their traffic is coming exclusively from mobile devices. So on, you look at Facebook, it's an even greater number. About 19% of their entire audience is mobile only. And then when you continue on to AOL, which reaches about 140 million people in the US, you see that 16% of their audience is exclusively mobile. So here's another example of how brands are really attempting to engage their consumers across multiple platforms and the real importance of doing so. So this is a case study we did with a large consumer packaged goods brand. And you can see here on the left side, around week 7 or 8, TV really starts to max out in terms of its reach. So you're building frequency as opposed to building reach. But here on the right side, you see if you're able to layer in the multiple platforms, so you add web, you add online video, you can actually produce an incremental reach of about 12%. So what this is saying is that for traditional media buyers that have focused on TV as being the main delivery platform, they're really inhibited in how much of their target audience they're ultimately able to reach. So when you layer in additional platforms like web and mobile, you can see that they can actually reach close to 60% of their target compared to 47% with just TV. So it's really important to understand that these multiple platforms are impacting the way consumers consume digital content, as well as allowing brands to reach more of their consumers in a more targeted way. So, why does this matter? Well, clearly the digital upfronts, or the digital newfronts, excuse me, have become a new way for brands to really engage their target audience. It's become a way for them to showcase and ultimately reach their audience across multiple platforms. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Cenk here, and he'll be addressing some of the learnings that they have from YouTube.
Hi everyone. Can I get one of those?
My name is Cenk. I lead strategy and insights in YouTube ads marketing team, and we're going to talk about engagement and a little bit of YouTube audience when we talk about the new fronts in video, online video. And the whole premise of this presentation is entire years of work last year, perhaps, which was crowned by the survey that we had run. And I'm going to ask you the two key questions in the survey, and I want you to raise your hand. Who in the audience thinks that engagement is an important objective in achieving success in digital video? And who today spends more than 1/3 of their time as engagement being the only core marketing objective? Thank you. So you're actually like interestingly, you replicate the survey results, but in a sharper way. So that's why the whole topic is about an explosion.
Is there any sound in your video?
No?
Perfect. Thank you.
What are we going to do? I need to move forward. Ta-da. Is it this?
Nope, it's still on there.
The slideshow is not working. It's not going to read the USB drive.
Are you on the last slide or the first slide?
First.
Sure?
Yeah.
Does it look like it's on your phone?
Well,
The first and the last slides are the same.
Here on your last slide.
You think so? Okay.
That's your view. See the orange on the bottom left? Go all the way up. Space. Go.
I thank you so much. Yes, the first and the last slides are the same. That's a little trick. You figured it out. So it's about engaging the YouTube generation. First, we're going to talk about a little bit about the audience, because when we saw the contrast, everybody wants to make engagement work, but nobody is doing it right now. So we asked the question to ourselves, how can we help marketers to solve for that challenge? How can we help them to do engagement-based planning and put that into their important marketing objectives? And what we did is we studied our audience. And there are a few common qualities of our audience that I would like to talk about. And that's going to be the centerpiece of the secret: curation, connection, creation, and community. Let's talk about them a little bit. When we look at the YouTube audience, we see that they create, and they create when there's a unique story. 2-in-1 upload photos, 1-in-3 upload videos. And they do that more and more. The center of the curation and the creation is that they do it with a purpose. That's a very, very purposeful audience. They only do it because they like sharing and curating stories. And then when we look at actually dig deeper, we say they say things like, I only share things that will create response, and then I actually moderate that response. 1 and 2 share photos and videos found elsewhere, and then the curation is their social currency. Then the community. The world is a very social world, and our platform is also very social. But the interesting thing is the community has changed its meaning, and then now we are talking about not the immediate community, not your friends, but for this audience, YouTube audience, they feel energized by feeling part of something bigger, a virtual community that is global, with people that they might not know, but they share interests with. And the last is much of what Kent had talked about. They're connected. They're connected to people, they're connected 24/7, and they toggle between devices. It's interesting because There's some striking statistics like 9 out of 10 sleep next to their devices, including me. 3 in 4 watch TV while they're on another device. They add the 25th, 26th hour to the day, and that's the way of life for them. That's their curation, goes on and on. So we named these behaviors in our audience. We call them Generation C. It's a generation, but don't be fooled. It's not an age group. It's a psychographic. It's true. Millennials, 18 to 34s, 80% of them we find display these behaviors, but it expands beyond the millennials. It goes to teens and it goes to Generation X. So when we look at our platform, 1 billion users, monthly users right now, they display these behaviors, and the majority of them are Generation C. So what is the implication of all of this? Who has seen this before? A purchase funnel. It starts with awareness, consideration, preference, and action. And in a nonlinear consumer world, a very linear planning tool. Start with 100% of your audience, reach to close to 100% of them, then take them down to 70% consideration, and then create preference for your brand, and then they take some action. But the world has changed. The world has become digital. Now we have signals from many of the digital platforms. And now it's not only about YouTube, actually. It's not about online video. We can actually, when we started thinking about it, marketers have all of these platforms that people spend really non-ignorable amount of time, and then they're not taking into consideration these actions from these digital platforms in their planning. So how can we help marketers to make engagement one of the most important, if not the most important, marketing objective and the engagement-based planning? Ta-da! We flip the funnel, and we call this engagement pyramid. Start with your core audience, the ones that take action, the ones that are most connected to your brand. And then learn from them, learn from their curation, creation, connection, and their communities, and expand out of that advocacy and participation to broader channels. And do not go to just reach. From there on, you can go to engaged reach. So that's how we think this could happen, and I'm going to show you a few examples of how other brands are actually demystifying engagement using the YouTube platform. Finding their audience and curating like the most engaged fans. One of the most repeated and celebrated cases is GoPro. Who knows here GoPro? Who has seen a GoPro video? So you guys, almost half of you know that they target communities of Generation C who are very, very active. They do really hardcore sports like jumping off the cliffs, surfing, shark diving, whale diving, I'm sorry. Maybe they do shark diving too. And they create some of these videos themselves, but they curate the videos of their community that are uploaded to their channels. And then they have amazing success. There are case studies of them on our website if you're interested. The next is expressing brands like a content creator, not like an advertiser. We say this, that the boundaries between the ad creation and content creation on our platform are blurring. Who knows this video? Have you guys seen this video? It was the most viewed YouTube ad in March. It's a prank on by Jeff Gordon, who's this race car driver, on this poor guy who's taken on a ride on a hidden cam. And then Pepsi used that as an ad, and an ad that you would not see on TV really, but you see it on YouTube, and it had driven 33 million views, which is the highest number of views any ad had achieved on YouTube this year. And then finally, Deepen your connections by owning the movement. Simpsons doing the Harlem Shake. And then it generates so much participation that the TV channel can actually see on their brand channel and learn from for maybe further production. So the audience, our audience, Jansi, creates, curates, connects, and is part of a community. And the formula to be successful in your own engagement project, to make engagement as the new front in your planning, you could learn from some of our advertisers. So I'll just pass it on to Nate right now.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. It's interesting in many ways from the shifts in technology and what Kent and Cenk just described. The Newfronts is actually very much a natural byproduct of that. So rather than present a whole deck, at this point, I think it'd be more useful to show a few slides, kind of what the Newfronts are, and kind of use that as a baseline to kind of help have more fruitful discussion at the end. But before we do, first a little bit about me. So Nate Stricker, I'm currently overseeing the digital media planning and buying at Initiative. And at Initiative and at Hyundai, we're big believers in video. In fact, we actually have moved really from a TV up front to a video up front. And for us, that means a few things. For instance, it means embracing video everywhere, regardless of screen, which we've kind of talked a little bit about today. It means connecting with fans, for instance, using mobile as an enhanced experience for their viewing experiences. It's really also balancing premium content with also identifying audiences and buying audiences efficiently at scale. And lastly, it's also about establishing key partnerships. That could be big voices across big stages. It could be owning cultural moments. And it could also be about identifying unique content that needs to be built for the brand specifically. So before we talk about the Newfronts, let's talk a little bit about the TV upfronts. Now, a quick word on that. In kind of the modern era, it's been around since around the 60s or so, starting with the broadcast networks and then later on adding to the cable networks, and really an opportunity for the TV nets to present the upcoming fall lineup of slate of shows to an engaged audience and trying to drive advertisers to commit dollars up front. Historically, that's been anywhere around like $3/4 of dollars being committed up front into an upfront market. For the broadcast networks, maybe about 50 to 60% for the cable networks. Interestingly, with the disruption of digital, internet, smartphones, tablets, social, certainly that has changed the game and how they approach it in the upfronts themselves, and I'm sure we'll be seeing that in mid-May. But wanted to kind of set the stage for the TV upfronts and how the Newfronts have kind of been built from there. So, quick show of hands, who here has heard of the Newfronts? And anyone planning to attend this year? Okay, cool. So what are the Newfronts then? They really are, and we've kind of mentioned a little bit, they are a complement in some regards to the TV upfronts. They really were established to recognize the value, the power of digital content. And it has been gaining in momentum in concept for a few years, but as my colleagues just mentioned, really this is only the second annual year of the Digital Content Newfronts. So we're still very new compared to the TV upfronts, which has been around since the 60s. But what's great is not only bringing together a great group of folks from various backgrounds, but really the muscle and clout of the leaders in digital space. So this gives you a range of the sponsors and participants for this year's Newfronts. You can see really the gamut from your traditional partner portals like AOL, Microsoft, Yahoo, as well as folks who really lead in terms of digital video with folks like Hulu and YouTube. But then also some non-traditional players, folks who have originated, say, in the broadcast world or the offline world, such as Condé Nast and Wall Street Journal. Many of these guys were part of the Newfronts last year in its inaugural year, but there's some new players that have been added and some folks that have changed out. So it's great to see a combination of varying backgrounds to be part of the Newfronts. And mark your calendars. They're going to be the last week in April, April 9th, that week. You can kind of see here, this is just a quick snapshot of the calendar. I like how they've condensed it down into 1 week, so folks can try to engage and focus in on that entire week from the various participants. And definitely check out the IAB website for more information. So with that, that's kind of a good survey of what the Newfronts are, and we want to make sure we have some time to ask a few questions about what it means, why it's so valuable, and certainly hear from you guys in the audience.
Great.